Hello, and welcome to The Focal Point. I'm Nitin Rai, President and CEO of First Insight Corporation and Evaa.ai. For more than 3 decades, I've had the privilege of working alongside healthcare providers and building technology for eye care practices. I've also had some experience with AI back in the glory days of the early days of AI in the 1980s. And throughout this journey, one thing has remained constant. Every meaningful breakthrough begins when someone has the courage to question the way things have been done. And that's why we've created The Focal Point. This podcast is a place for conversations with people shaping what's next. Founders, physicians, researchers, engineers, policymakers, and innovators who aren't simply adapting to the future, they're helping build it. Together, we'll explore the ideas, technologies, and leadership decisions that are transforming healthcare and the world around us. There's no better way for me to begin than with somebody who has embraced that mindset throughout his career. And we're so honored to know him and work with him. Joining me today is Dr. Jay Henry, optometrist and co-owner of Herman and Henry Eye Care, a nationally recognized speaker and an early adopter of technology in clinical practice. Today, he's helping the adoption of AI to enhance both patient care in his office and all of the practice operations, making him the perfect guest to kick off this series. Together, we're going to discuss AI as a second set of eyes, what it takes to successfully introduce AI into a practice, and how intelligent systems are reshaping the future of electronic health records, or as we call them, EHRs, and what healthcare leaders should really be doing to prepare for what's next. So on that note, Dr. Henry, welcome to the Focal Point.
Thanks, Nitin. I certainly am excited to have a discussion with you today and look forward to a great conversation and appreciate the invite to chat with you today.
I'm really excited to have you on here. So as someone who has been at the forefront of AI adoption, what are the assumptions that you think deserve to be questioned the most in healthcare?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nitin. And I think there's a few of them, but I think probably what I'd maybe push back hardest on is that more data means better care. I think it's easy to see why we believe that. It feels intuitive, right? More information, more precision, right? More coverage. In eye care specifically, we've got these awesome AI tools that can help screen things. They're really impressive, right? They genuinely are impressive. They can flag findings. They can find changes over time. They find things that maybe a rushed exam might miss. But I think there's an assumption that's kind of baked into all this excitement that the detection and finding these things is the end point. It's the finish line. But I would kind of go out there and say it's really the starting point, right? I mean, it's really not the end game. Actually, what we want AI to do is give us opportunity to find these things, but also give us more time to evaluate them, right? So
absolutely.
The biggest opportunity I see in my office is with AI, it's not finding more problems. It's not finding more signal strength. It's handling the follow through, right? It's flagging things. It's the coordination of the care. It's giving us more human time to spend with our patients.
I think patients crave human touch, and I think over the years I've experienced that has dissipated.
It has, and it's terrible because that's not what we got in the profession of medicine and healthcare to do. We've got in it to take care of patients, and we've lost that ability in some aspects just because of the amount of data and the amount of time it takes to run a practice. And I think when you start talking about this stuff, it's data, right? The conversation about data and the conversation about the patient, they really are the same conversation. We assume that more automation, more data, more dashboards, patients having access to this data is what they want. But you know what they really want? They want me as the doctor in the exam room, face to face, talking to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was the trigger for me, right? So why we got into Evaa is I went for my glaucoma checkup with a very well-respected glaucoma specialist at Bascom Palmer Eye Center at Miami University.
Yeah.
And he spent 20 minutes with his back to me, typing away
Right.
while he's having a conversation with me. And he's like one of the most recognized researchers in glaucoma.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I'm going to change this for you. And that's really kind of how we got the scribe piece going. That was my motivation. It's like, wait a minute, I want to see him face to face. Like, I don't want him.
That's exactly what patients want. They want our time. They want face to face. They don't want our back to them. They don't want us typing all the time. They want to have a conversation. They want to know they have our trust, and that's what AI is giving us back. Honestly, right? I mean, it's a win, and it's not more data. It's not more automation. It's time, and that's what patients need, and that's what makes us better doctors, and it's what makes our patients want to come back and see us.
Yeah. So now that sort of AI has been out there, it's getting launched. There's a lot of activity around, these products, various kinds of AI products that are coming to market, and it's sort of becoming this defining force really behind changes that are coming down the pike. Why do you think it makes so many healthcare professionals uncomfortable? Why is there this fear of AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a pretty obvious couple of answers there that I hear over and over when we speak on AI and when we get to these conferences and we interact with other physicians and doctors. It makes healthcare providers uncomfortable because it's challenging something that's really central and kind of deep to our professional identity, right? Yeah. We spent years learning to recognize patterns, to make diagnoses, to develop clinical judgment. And now all of a sudden a machine's coming along that does some of these things and it does some of these things remarkably well. So it's kind of natural to question, where's this going to leave me in the future? Like, what's happening here? Yeah. But, I think that's just a big misunderstanding of what AI actually is, right? It's not replacing expertise. It's amplifying it, right? Yeah. It's like going from a paper chart to an EHR, or going from like film to digital imaging. Right. Every major shift, and you've been in this business for a long time, every technology shift, it creates anxiety, right? Everybody's anxious about it. But guess what? The clinicians who embrace it, right? They're the ones who ultimately deliver the better care in the end.
Exactly. So is this what you call a second set of eyes? Is that, that AI is a second, can you dig it a little bit deeper into that? Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what I mean. It's a second set of eyes, right? It's not the only set of eyes. It's a second set of eyes. Yeah. It's something that's kind of looking at data. It's helping me maybe see something that I might miss in a busy exam, or maybe it's looking back at 15 or 20 years of data where I'm just focused on today's data. So it's looking at things. It's tapping me on the shoulder saying, hey, look at this. It's not saying you need to do this. It's not saying this is the answer. It's giving me a point of reference to look at something else, to maybe flag something that I would have missed, to help me make a better clinical judgment, right? It's not making the decisions for me. I'm still making all those decisions, but now I have a tool to help me, to give me a better understanding of the condition, and then I can make a better judgment and do what's right for the patient.
So how do you respond to people, and some of them are like, very respected technology leaders in the industry. I won't name them, one in particular. What do you tell them when they say, hey, in 10 years, frontline physicians will be replaced with AI? What's your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not going to happen, right? I mean, I think we have to remember that we are the ones who are going to make those final judgments, and patients want to make sure that there's a person making those clinical decisions for them. And the technology is there to help. It's there to amplify. It's there to make us make a better clinical judgment. It's never going to make the final decision. It's just not possible. We can gather all the information it gives us, but then we can intertwine that with what you're sitting there telling me while you're in my exam chair, and what maybe I gathered from you in the waiting room. It's just going to help us do a better job. It's never going to replace. It's just not what it's designed to do.
Right. So when did AI stop being an interesting idea and start creating measurable value in your practice? When did that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I oftentimes think back to like, when did this happen? And when did we become such a adopter of this technology? And, I think the shift, it's an interesting idea to me. And it really happened back probably when we stopped asking and stopped saying like, oh, wow, this is cool technology, right? This is neat. And when
Yeah.
we actually started measuring what changed in my office, and we measure all our metrics, right? So we,
Right.
we pay attention to these things. But I
But when
think,
exactly was that? Was it a year
yeah,
ago?
it was over a year ago. So we launched your Evaa virtual assistant tool over a year ago now, probably
Right.
close to a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, well, this is interesting. Let's see, let's just see what this can do for us. Let's see if it makes a difference in our office. And I will tell you this, Nitin, on day one, we launched it. We
Yeah.
did send a message to our patients, letting them know we were launching some new technology. And I don't remember the exact number, but we had 400, 500, 600 interactions with our virtual assistant on the very first day we launched it. I
Right.
was astounded by that. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like this is crazy. People are actually using this. And not only that, we had 15 or 20 patients schedule exams on the very first day we launched the technology
Right.
using it. So
Yeah.
to me, at that point, it started to go, okay, this just isn't a gimmick. This just isn't something that is
Yeah.
cool. This is
Yeah.
something that's going to make a difference in our lives and a difference in my practice.
Yeah.
And so then we started to measure it, right? Because I can measure how many phone calls I get a day. I know what's
Yeah.
happening. And my staff immediately said, our call volume's gone down significantly. Like we aren't having to spend all day just chasing the phones. We're actually having time to have conversations with the patients when they check in and when they check out and talk to them. And we don't feel like we have to rush to grab the next phone call. So we
Right.
knew at that point we were onto something. And then we started looking at what other friction points do we have in our office? What else can we use? What other technology can we go to next to reduce those friction points and to make our jobs easier, make us more efficient? And honestly, back to the same story, give us more time so we can
Right.
spend it with our patients one-on-one.
So, so that leads to the next question, which is, a lot of people associate AI with sort of the exam room and the scribing. I mean, if I look at a bunch of hospitals that I visit or I've talked to, they're all like, "Oh, we're just implementing ambient listening," which I'm not sure how well that works.
Right.
But you spend as much time talking about operations. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, great question, right? But I think, and I can only speak to my own experience in my own office, but the
Yeah.
exam room is only a small part of where AI makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yes, it makes a difference there. And yes, we use your AI scribe and it's fantastic and saves us a ton of time.
Right.
And everyone gets excited about the diagnostic side, it's really
Yeah.
cool. It's exciting. We can look at reports, we can look at studies, and I'm not knocking that. But if you zoom way out and take a bigger look,
Yeah.
I mean, what determines whether a patient gets good care? It happens around the exam room, right? It's not just
Yeah.
what's inside. It's the
Yeah.
scheduling. It's
Yeah.
the insurance verification. It's your recall
Exactly.
system. It's
Yeah.
how your charts get prepped. It's how
Yeah.
a finding gets flagged, right? It's
Yeah.
not just what you're doing in that exam room. It's all the extraneous things.
Yeah.
It's where we make a huge amount of difference. And it's where a huge amount of time either gets wasted or gets protected by doing something better.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of the errors happen, in my opinion, is especially, when they have to get prior auths. Like I went through that where they missed a prior authorization of a investigative procedure and I show up in the hospital and they hadn't done it.
Yeah.
And it was a complete disaster. We recovered from it, but and I literally said that to the front desk person. I said, AI is going to replace this for you. It's going to. You need to start thinking about this. Had there been some kind of an intelligent system in this god awful software you use in your hospital, which is not very smart, then this
Right.
wouldn't have happened. And I said the same thing to the insurance company person that I talked to. So.
But you're not wrong in that, and that's why I
Yeah.
harp on operations and everything around the exam room. The exam room's important,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, like there's a lot of technology there that we love and we use. But
Yeah.
I think operations is where like we save the most time.
Yeah.
It's where it makes a difference, and we use AI for all of those things, right? From scheduling to pulling insurance authorizations in to getting insurance benefits. We're using the Evaa billing assistant to do all of that. It's creating claims for us. It's submitting claims for us. It's posting payments. I mean, we're using it all the way through the exam.
Right.
We're using it all the way through the scheduling. Then we're using it all the way through the checkout process. And
Right.
it's doing those mundane, repetitive tasks that I don't need to do as a doctor. I don't even need a staff member to do those things. AI can do those things in a great fashion. It's good at that data-driven stuff, right? And then guess what? Now all of a sudden we have time to do the things that we care about. Talk to our patients and spend time with each other and answer questions and do the things that really matter.
Right. So looking back, what has AI impacted more? Has it changed patient care more, or has it changed the way your practice operates?
I mean, I think just in the conversation we had, operations, obviously, I think the overall operation of my practice has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
And I will give you just a quick example. Last night, it was our long day. We work a 12-hour day on Wednesdays. At the end of the day, typically my staff would be out the door the minute we close and on their way and kind of maybe with a frown on their face, not super excited because it was a long day of work. Last night, my staff actually decided they were going to put a skid on for Dr. Murphy and myself.
Are you serious? I love that.
Yes. They had such a great day and they had so much fun and interaction with the patients that they literally grabbed us and said, hey, you guys, no one's leaving. We have a skit that we're going to perform for you guys. And it was just a funny little thing, but their excitement and their enjoyment to their jobs is back. And honestly, it's because they have time to do the things they want to do now. They don't feel crushed by answering the phone. They don't feel crushed by pulling insurance authorizations in all day long. They aren't slammed with having to do bills. AI is doing all that stuff for us now. So, they have enjoyment back to their lives. They have enjoyment back to their work. Many of them have said to us lately, like, we enjoy our jobs again. Thank you. Like, they are very happy that we've implemented tools.
That's amazing. And this is just a year.
Yeah. Honestly, Nitin, it's been a life-changing event in our practice. It is fantastic. And we couldn't have done it without obviously some of the tools that Evaa and First Insight has created for us, but it has been astounding. It is really, it's been so much a fresh new sense to everything in our office.
Yeah. Have you talked to patients? Have you surveyed patients at all to see what they feel?
We have, and you know what? Patients from young to old like the technology. They're excited about it. And I think they've recognized that, guess what? It's easier for them now. They can schedule when they want to. They can do it at night when we're closed. They can do it on a weekend. They can pay their bill when they want to. They're able to do these things that they've always wanted to do, but we didn't have the technology to do it. They've recognized, I think my staff is happier, which means they're happier, and then they can interact with the patients and they can laugh and giggle with them. They recognize the doctors are happier. We're spending more time with them. We're going home on time at the end of the day. So we're refreshed every day. So, the patients like it. I have not had anybody have any negative comments about it. And honestly, it goes from our young patients to our elderly patients. They all really seem to enjoy it.
Yeah. Does it show up in any of the reviews that they provide?
It does. It does. And we get, and that's a whole other piece of the puzzle. Our reviews have gone through the roof, which they're almost always a 5-star review. And part of that is the patient engagement features that we use, through First Insight. They do a great job for that. But our Google reviews have gone through the roof, our Facebook reviews as well. But they're always super positive. They always talk about, great office, friendly staff, fun place to be. I feel like family. The doctor spends time with me. So those little things are nuances of we've gathered more time and energy now.
And your staff feels good about it.
My staff
when they see those kinds of reviews.
Let's be honest, okay? I mean, let's ask the question of, how did the staff like it when you first launched it? What was their opinion?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. Yeah,
I think that's what everybody really probably wants to know. And I'll be honest, skepticism, right? A little bit of fear, a little bit of, wait a minute, is this taking over my job? Like, what's happening here? And I think they're a little bit suspicious of it, and rightfully so, right? I think that's okay. They were already doing their jobs well. They wondered, why do we need this technology to help us? What's it actually going to do for us? But you know what? The first few times when the phone volume dropped and some things happened in the background and they realized all of a sudden, wait a minute, like this is actually okay. This isn't taking anything away from me as a job. This is doing the things that I didn't want to do. Those repetitive tasks, those things I hated, I don't have to do them anymore. And they're done when I walk in the morning. So all of a sudden the tune changed a little bit and it started becoming like, well, what else can this technology do for us? Like, can it do this? Can it do that? Is there any way we can get it to help us with this area? So all of a sudden they started looking at the friction points and asking us, is there anything else out there? What else can we use? So they got excited and they got behind it. It was a little skeptical at first. It was a little bit slow at first. And I've learned a little bit about, I think, how to introduce technology through the process. But once we got over the initial hurdle and they realized it was there to help and not to take their jobs away from them, man, they're all over it. They absolutely love it.
Were any of them using ChatGPT at home, or anybody kind of exposed to it?
I've got a staff of all ages, from young folks in their 20s to folks in their 60s, and I think they've all dabbled with ChatGPT and a little bit of AI technology here and there. I don't know that any of them were using it, routinely, but I think they all were aware of it and they all knew kind of a little bit about it, but none of them understood like what it really could do and when you actually implement it properly, what its abilities were.
Did anybody ever come to you and say, "Hey, are you going to replace me with this?"
Absolutely. I think we had that question a lot in the beginning, and sort of jokingly, but I don't think they were really joking, right? They would kind of hint and be like, ha ha ha, someday this is going to do my job for me, and then waiting for our response to see like, well, what are you going to say about that? And we were always very quick to say, we're not replacing anyone. This isn't the goal of any of this. This is to make your lives easier. This is to make your job more enjoyable. This is to help you do what you do every day, not to ever replace you. And that they're comfortable with it now. We've been using it, like I said, over a year and a half. Now I could tell you if it didn't work for some reason one day, I would probably have an uproar because they would be very unhappy about the things they have to do again and the tasks that they don't want to do.
Right. So you guys all become AI optimists.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Very good. That was the whole point. So I think you've covered this ground, but is there anything specifically that you want to talk about of what has changed once your team has started using it every day? Like, is there anything specifically that
honestly just very joy and happiness in their jobs again? I mean, we were literally getting to that point, Nitin, where I think they were dreading sometimes coming to work because we were so overwhelmed and just overrun by phone volume and tasks and insurance authorizations and having to go to 5 or 6 websites to get that information. And we're a busy office. I mean, we see a lot of patients in a day, and I think I could see it happening, but I didn't know how to necessarily fix it without hiring more staff. And then we're running out of room because our office is only so big. So it becomes that vicious cycle of what do we do? How do we fix these problems? And now it's changed. Like I said, they are so happy with their jobs, and someday maybe we can have one of them step on and talk and do an interview with them or something.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to talk.
They would share their thoughts with you. And I can speak for them because I know them well, but they would tell you they love it and they would never go back to the old way.
So they're experiencing the Evaa joy. And
absolutely. Yeah. They love everything about it. And I kid you not, they do ask me probably once a week, like, hey, what's next? Like, what can we do? What's Evaa going to do for us next? What's our next process? So they look forward to it now. They're excited about it.
Well, I think they should just ask about what's next. They should tell us what we should do next.
You know what?
What are things that we could do that would give them more joy, right?
I think they would be happy to share that with you. Absolutely. And I think they have some good ideas, and sometimes getting down to the folks on the ground level is probably the best way to figure out what it should do next, right? Yeah.
So, to close out my questions, what's the biggest lesson you've learned about leading this change in this new AI-driven practice?
Yeah, and I learned this probably the hard way, I think, early on with launching technology, and not necessarily just AI, but any technology. And that was just kind of like throwing it at them and not explaining anything about it. And just all of a sudden one day saying like, hey, we're going to use this. But, I think the biggest lesson is it's not really a technology problem. It's a trusted workflow problem, right? I always thought picking the right tool and getting the accuracy and pointing out and learning the ROI of these things was important. But that's the easy part, honestly. The hard part is getting your team to change how they work and patients to trust something that's new and getting staff to trust something that's happening differently. And the lesson that took me probably the longest and hardest to learn was that you can't just announce change by throwing a tool at them and saying like, we're going to use this. Here it is. You've got to get their buy-in, and you've got to show them what it's going to do for them, what problem it's going to solve for them, and get their feedback. But early on, you got to get their buy-in, and you got to point out like, these are the problems we're having. This technology is going to help us in this way. It's going to make your job better here. It's not going to replace you. Get them excited behind the idea. And then all of a sudden they're all over it, right? They're all about it once they realize it's helping me. And we made that mistake early. We threw things out and just said, hey, tomorrow we're launching this, virtual assistant. It's going to do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, what? What is this? What are we doing? And so, buy-in early on is important. Involving them, letting them understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, how it's going to help them. I mean, that's probably the biggest lesson I learned. Everything else kind of comes naturally. And once they see things in action and realize, okay, this isn't a whole new thing that I have to learn. It's something that's going to make it easier for me, and it's going to make my job more fun. Then they're great with it. Then they're all about it.
What's really gratifying is that we started doing electronic health records before anybody else was doing, right? We're like the first ones. And it was not a pleasant experience for people, right?
Right.
I mean, people didn't even know how to use a computer, and we had to teach people how to use Windows. And I would never hear the word joy.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in 32 years. It's very gratifying to hear that people are actually getting joy from implementing AI. Like,
you know what?
Unbelievable.
You guys have made a huge difference in honestly what we do every day. And I do the same thing every day, all day long, but all of a sudden now I have some time back to spend with my patients, to laugh a little bit with my staff. I have time to spend with my family because I can go home on time. Like, it's made a difference in everybody's lives. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. But I mean, let me ask you this. You spent 3 decades building healthcare technology. I mean, what made you actually think AI would be the next big defining moment in technology?
Like I said earlier, my first job was an AI software engineer, and I built an expert system. And so, I was working with a physician in my university building a diagnostic system, right? And so, all the technology aside, the whole point of AI was to enhance the human experience, right, with computer technology. People had fear of computers back then, right? Yep. And the idea behind an expert system was, hey, maybe I can tap into this collective wisdom that this expert system has to make my life better and make things easier for me. And it really was always there in the back of my mind. And over the years, we've been, as we developed Maximize and EHR technology, the point was we want to improve access to information, right? So we've seen the digitization of healthcare, in these last 30 years, computerization, all the data now going in, it was like, get rid of the chart, get rid of the paper chart, right? That was the whole, and reduce the administrative work, the workload, and put the data in one place, right? So you don't have to run around looking for information. And we, I think, solved that problem with the electronic health record, with the computerization. But what convinced me wasn't just the technology, it was the realization that AI could finally address the healthcare's biggest problem, which is what I started experiencing over the last many years. It's not like I felt guilty, like, hey, I created this problem, right? Where there's less face time with the physicians.
Right.
Everybody is buried in the computer typing away. Like, no matter where you go, whether it's the front desk or, they're all click, 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 right? Almost like, you need to look at me. I actually have said that to people. Well, can you just look at me rather than looking at your screen? Like, what am I supposed to do here, right? Whatever that interaction is. And so I think that to me was the key motivator. Yeah. Is like, how do we use AI to give you time back, which is what you talk about, and make that whole patient interaction more personal.
Well, that's what patients want, right?
And that's what I want. I want to sit and talk about my issue. Yeah. I don't want to look. I don't have my doctor looking at the computer screen. And funnily enough, it was more with these hospital-based systems where, as soon as, like, I remember Providence in Oregon, like the first time, my physician, personal physician in Oregon, implemented, I'm not going to name that software, but it's across the hospitals.
Of course.
And the guy is just typing away, and I'm like, Dr. Sai, like, that's what we got to do. We got to type,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not why this was designed. Like, I need to talk to you,
Yeah.
So I think that was the instigator for me to say, is there, and I've been talking about voice for like so many years, but is there a way? And you guys would say, can we use drag and dictate?
Right.
But it wasn't there, right? And it wasn't until the large language model came out, and language models, they were designed for that purpose, by the way, to solve the language problem. And that became, at the moment I saw ChatGPT, and I spent like literally an overnight talking about my experience as an AI developer and what the technology was. To me, it was like a light bulb moment, saying, oh my goodness, this voice recognition and the language I mean, now suddenly we have, what is an LLM? So it's a big, huge neural net. It's like suddenly the brain is alive, So what can we do to tap into this brain to make your life easier? So.
Yeah, and as you talk about that, like your AI scribe that you guys have developed with Evaa it's incredible how smart it is, right?
Yeah.
It recognizes our language, right? It knows
exactly
about things. It doesn't make some weird comment. It puts it in the chart exactly as it should be. It knows exactly what we mean when we say the CD ratio is 0.3. It understands that. That is incredible to me. That part of it makes my life so much easier. And I think you kind of answered this, but I mean, what do you think makes this AI era just fundamentally different than every other technology wave that's come before it?
Yeah. Well, I think at the core of it, like what I said, it's like it's got all the reasoning capabilities. It has it can see, hear, and speak.
Yep.
Those are that's artificial intelligence, right?
Right.
If you can do that and you can process large amounts of data and provide you with reasoning, and help you be a better clinician and reduce the administrative overhead. I think compliance has just gone completely bat crazy over the last 10 years.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, you went around, teaching people how to become compliant, right?
I sure did.
So they could get reimbursed better. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so to me, I think what AI has, so a lot of the prior technologies were all about digitization and centralizing data and putting compliance and making you more compliant and those sort of things, so you could code better and do sort of the right things in terms of billing to the insurance companies and largely driven by reimbursement.
Right.
But this is not just about reimbursement. This is about providing high touch care.
A better experience, right? I mean,
exactly.
That's really what it drives down to. A better experience for the patient, a better experience for the provider.
Right. And of course, the AI is smart so that, if you might miss something, it can remind you of certain things.
That tap on the shoulder.
Before you had to write copious amounts of code and you might miss something, right? Now it's like ingesting all this data that's already there, and it's got this reasoning and the technology behind, I call it vector math. I mean, it's vector math, right? And it's that transformer algorithm that Google created that has been transforming for the users of AI. So it's really taken what I did, which was more, the AI that I worked on was more of, it wasn't a neural net. It wasn't vector math. It was a different technology.
Sure.
And that still required a lot of work to make it work.
Yeah, right.
Whereas now it's the engine, the operational engine, it's such a catalyst to do so many different things like a human brain would do.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. And I hinted that we should ask my staff what AI should do for us next. But, in your mind, and you've been obviously around EHRs forever, and we know traditional EHRs, they record data, like you said, they put it into groups and into places. But what do you think the next generation of EHRs actually should do, and what are they going to look like?
Well, they should become active participants in the care and not passive repository of information, which means they should be able to reason, analyze. They should be able to anticipate the clinical needs. They, summarize information for you. Be able to listen, right? The ambient listener. The voice becomes really an active participant. The voice recognition is an active participant. So you're eliminating a lot of the screen time, right? The screen time is it's sort of like going back to paper, except, when you used to write, you should scribble, right? Right. Well, now you don't need to scribble on a chart, right? You eliminate, your hands free.
Yeah.
And you're having a conversation, and maybe the AI is sort of reminding you of certain things, or maybe something is popping on the screen, but you're not constantly looking at the screen and using the mouse and clicking. It's eliminating a lot of that. But it's also doing a lot of the behind the scenes workflow coordination, data transfers, automatically stuff's going to the right people. Right. And so as people, go through that flow in your office, everything is voice, everything is face to face. And all of the data processing is just happening magically behind the scenes. In the AI, the brain is doing that work for you. Yeah. And you're getting better information, more accurate information. And if you want, you can go out and, do that clinical analysis or ask AI to do it, or you might already know the answer. You don't need to rely on it, but it's doing all that mundane work behind the scenes. And that's what the EMR should be doing anymore. It's no longer a data repository. It's actually, it's more than that. It's really the intelligence. It's processing all of that for you. And
it's an active part of the care.
It's completely active. It's your assistant. No.
Yeah, right. It's that second set of eyes that I referred to. And it's great. It's incredible. And I think it's important that when we look at these technologies, right, that they're integrated, they're all part of the system. They all work together. What makes you think that this connected intelligence is going to outperform a bunch of disconnected kind of point solutions that people might use?
It's collective wisdom, right?
Right.
When you have collective wisdom and you can utilize that wisdom, you can be way more efficient operationally. It really solves a lot of problems when you have disconnected systems, because there's problem in translation between the different systems. Data gets lost, things are inefficient, one breaks, the other. You got to have it fully integrated, fully connected, so that everything flows seamlessly between all functions of your practice, right? And that's, to me, and this, it's not just the data, but it's also the intelligence. Like, it moves around because every aspect from front to back and back to front, all of that stuff moves back and forth, right? And so when it's one holistic system, you automatically see a lot of efficiencies around that, and it makes the experience more user friendly, better experience, very ambient, right? So like it's just there all around you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And I always kind of comment to my staff that, the technology is fantastic and it's awesome, but some of our best days are the days where we don't recognize that the technology is even doing anything. It's just doing it in the background, and our day goes great, and we have a wonderful day, and we look back and go, wow, that was an easy day. Everything went smooth. And we don't think about the technology.
It's ambient. It's complete. It's not just ambient listening. It's just everything is ambient, and it's happening. It's happening seamlessly around you. And you wear it, you see it, you listen to it, and it's just there, right? Just do your job, which is take care of the patient, diagnose the patient. If you need to see some information, you can see the information, but you're not having to operate it. It's self-operating.
No, it's incredible. And when you connect all the pieces, like you say, use that connected intelligence. And I always talk to other docs about that, and because they want to look out and they try to find all these little point solutions, and some of them don't integrate with their EHR. Some of them don't talk to each other. And all of a sudden they have all these disconnected systems that they're like, we're not any more efficient. We're having to do all these other things and double entry and this and that, because they're not using a truly connected, integrated system, right? It's not connected intelligence. So,
I mean, that's where you see the most breakdown, right? When things are not fully connected, or they're disjunct systems, they're integrated. That's where the faults happen. There was the errors happen. Communication errors happen, whether they're system level or, that's always problematic. I mean, majority of our support work is all around the integrations, right? Whether it's submitting stuff to the insurance company or, connecting to your equipment, it's all problematic, right?
Of course. And somebody changes something and they don't tell you, and then nothing else works.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, gee whiz. So, I mean, what do you think, Nitin, and kind of wrapping this up, what do you think in the next 5 years or maybe even in the next 2 to 3 years? I mean, what does a truly intelligent practice look like to you? What do you think it's going to look like?
Like I said, ambient. Everything happening in the background. Everything is connected, right? All of your tasks are just happening for you. Your staff people obviously are monitoring it, but they're not actually having to do all the grunty stuff that they have to do today, right? So, which is eliminating all the screen time is gone. I really think the screens are going to go away. Their screens are basically tablets. They might be holding it in your hand. It may be speaking to you. You may be seeing it in your eyeglasses. I would love to see that.
Yes, we
eventually work.
For eye care, I think that would make sense that we would go that direction somewhere.
And so it's sort of like you're wearing the AI around you. It's in it's whatever you're wearing those devices, and all that data information is coming to you. But all the crunchy, operational, it's all happening behind the scenes.
Tasks are happening for you.
It's like going back to, like I said, when you had paper, right? And you actually did the exam, right?
Oh yeah,
You know,
I did. I started there.
yeah. So now a lot of that is automated. So a lot of the stuff, this just happens. So it smoothens out the patient flow. But I like the, better or worse, right?
Right.
It
Sure.
gives you comfort, right? It gives you comfort. So
Right.
even though you have a phoropter to do it, I still like the fact that the doctor is like adjusting and I'm
Yeah.
getting that fine,
Yep.
just really that fine correction of my vision. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I think most patients actually like that, and they feel
Right.
like they have an input, and then the
Yeah,
answer.
and I love when they bring up the opto screen in front of me and they show me my lattice and I can see it, right? And so to me is patient care. And if you can do that, and all the other stuff is just, you don't have to go and type something in the computer. You can eliminate that, and AI is just doing that. To me, that's where it should be in the next 5 years,
Yeah.
or sooner. But I think that's
feel
where
like
we experiencing the benefit of AI and all of the technology and all this new technology is coming, which is like, it's really enhancing the patient experience, going back to the basics.
I think you nailed it, and I think that's it. It's enhancing their experience in our office, and it's making our job easier to do, and I think it's making us better clinicians by helping us.
Right.
But it's given us time back, and it's letting us do what we really signed up to do, which is help patients, right? Not be data analysts, not be typing all day on, not be married to our computer, but be able to interact with our patients one-on-one and spend quality time with them and laugh and giggle and actually take care of them properly. And I think that's where the technology is going to lead us. And it's been amazing.
That was going to be my question, but you kind of answered it. It's like, if the listeners remember one thing from today's conversation, what do you hope?
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. I hope the technology continues to give us back time and time for patient care, time for one-on-one interactions, time away from the computer screen, like you said, and ultimately make our jobs back to what we wanted to do. Take care of patients properly, right?
It's so interesting that not once did you say, "Oh, I wish I could get reimbursed better by the insurance companies."
No,
that to me is another topic. But one of the things that really bothers me is that your profession is the only one whose reimbursements have not gone up with inflation,
right?
And that's another topic to talk about. We're just talking about the enhancing your lives and the patient experience and giving your time back. But I think that's another connected discussion I want to have you at some point.
Absolutely.
But I really, Dr. Henry, I really appreciate and thank you for joining us and sharing this perspective and your experience with Evaa. And I want to thank everybody, whoever signed on to listen to this discussion. It's one of many that will happen in the future. And to all of our audience members, whether you're watching it on YouTube or listening, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please go to YouTube, go to Spotify, subscribe to the Focal Point. That's really important. Share it with a colleague. Put a like on it if you liked it, and then join us for more conversations in the future with all the people in this connected ecosystem of healthcare that are shaping what's next. So until next time, I'm Nitin Rai. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.